a city shrouded in mist, there lived a renowned psychologist named Alexander. He possessed enviable talent and prestige, yet beneath his polished exterior lay a secret unknown to many. Alexander was a master of dark psychology, skilled in exploiting human vulnerabilities to manipulate others. Alexander's latest target was Alice, a young woman newly navigating society. Having lost her parents in an accident, Alice felt lonely and helpless. Alexander, spotting her vulnerability, planned to bring her under his control. He first gained Alice's trust through clever rhetoric and illusions. Then, Alexander began to introduce minor troubles into Alice's life, only to appear just in time to solve them, gradually deepening her dependence on him. Alice was unaware that she was slowly being drawn into a psychological trap set by Alexander. As time went on, Alice started to feel her decisions increasingly influenced by Alexander. She began to doubt her feelings and even her judgment, but whenever she attempted to break free, Alexander would reel her back in with his sweet nothings and psychological games. Just when Alice was about to lose her autonomy completely, an elderly psychologist entered her life. This psychologist saw through Alexander's schemes and began to guide Alice on how to recognize and resist psychological manipulation. After a tough psychological struggle, Alice finally regained her self-awareness and reclaimed her strength. In the end, Alice not only escaped Alexander's control but also helped expose his years of secretly manipulating other innocent people. Alexander's true face was finally revealed to the public, and Alice became a symbol of psychological freedom and resilience in the city. This story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, the strength of the spirit and the help of justice can always bring light. In that town perpetually enshrouded in fog, Mary, with her gentle demeanor and professional skills, won the trust and respect of the townspeople. Her psychological clinic was always full, with people hoping to solve their psychological issues through her hypnotherapy. But unknown to anyone, each time Mary swung her hypnotic pendulum and her voice softly echoed in the room, an invisible manipulation was secretly taking place. Mary used her technique to delve into the deepest fears and weaknesses of her patients. She aimed not to heal but to control. Under her manipulation, those patients began to grow increasingly dependent on her, their thoughts and behaviors gradually deviating from their original paths. Alice, a young girl who had just lost her parents, became Mary's new target. Seeing Alice's vulnerability, Mary decided to tightly bind her within her control. Through a series of meticulously designed hypnotherapy sessions, Alice began to develop a strong dependence on Mary, inadvertently coming to see her as the most trustworthy person in her life. However, as time passed, Alice started to sense that something was amiss. She found her thoughts increasingly not her own, her decisions seemingly involuntarily aligning with Mary's expectations. One night, Alice woke from a nightmare, suddenly realizing Mary's true intentions. She began to seek help, attempting to break free from Mary's mental control. After a difficult journey of exploration and resistance, Alice finally found assistance from an elderly psychologist who saw through Mary's facade. This psychologist began to help Alice with counter-hypnotherapy, gradually restoring her autonomy. Through repeated psychological battles, Alice slowly regained herself and exposed Mary's crimes over the years. In a nation riddled with political conspiracies, there was a charismatic politician named Robert. He harnessed his understanding of dark psychology to manipulate public emotions, winning widespread support and adoration. However, his true aim was to obtain absolute power and eliminate any rivals that could threaten his position. As a courageous journalist began to dig into his past, Robert's true face gradually came to light, setting the stage for a battle between good and evil. Robert used his speeches and public appearances as a stage to showcase his mastery of psychological manipulation. He knew exactly what to say to ignite hope, fear, or anger, steering the public sentiment to his advantage. Behind the scenes, he employed a team of dark psychologists to analyze data on the populace, further refining his strategies to maintain his grip on power. As the journalist Emily delved deeper into her investigation, she uncovered the extent of Robert's manipulation. She discovered evidence of rigged elections, silenced dissenters, and even orchestrated events designed to manipulate public opinion. Emily's determination to expose the truth put her in grave danger, as Robert's network of influence was vast, and his methods ruthless. In the heart of a sprawling corporation, a genius psychologist named Alan had developed an innovative psychological assessment tool. Ostensibly designed to boost employee efficiency, the tool was actually used by Alan to analyze and manipulate the psychological weaknesses of employees to further his own ambitions. Alan's office was a fortress of data, screens displaying real-time analyses of employee behavior, stress levels, and productivity. He used this information to subtly influence decision-making processes, promote those under his control, and sideline potential threats. His ultimate goal was to manipulate his way into the upper echelons of corporate power. Enter Sarah, a new recruit with a keen mind and a background in behavioral psychology. She quickly noticed the odd patterns of promotion and demotion within the company and began to suspect manipulation. As she covertly investigated, she uncovered the true purpose of Alan's psychological assessments and his network of influence. Sarah realized that confronting Alan directly would be futile. Instead, she began to gather evidence of his manipulations, all while pretending to be a loyal follower. She also started to educate her colleagues about psychological manipulation, empowering them to resist Alan's influence. In a city where surveillance technology pervades every aspect of life, a mysterious figure known only as the Watcher utilizes advanced psychological analysis to monitor the populace. Claiming to act for the public safety, the Watcher actually collects people's secrets and vulnerabilities, using them for personal gain and to maintain an iron grip on the city. The city's skyline was a network of eyes, cameras on every street corner feeding data into the Watcher's control center, a high-tech fortress hidden from the public eye. Inside, the Watcher analyzed the fears, desires, and behaviors of citizens, manipulating events to keep the city under a veil of fear and obedience. However, a group of victims whose lives had been torn apart by the Watcher's manipulations began to form a resistance. Led by Alex, a former data analyst for the Watcher who had discovered the truth, they sought to dismantle the surveillance network and expose the Watcher's deeds. Using their skills in hacking and counter-surveillance, the Resistance managed to breach the Watcher's fortress, uncovering the vast extent of the surveillance and psychological control exerted over the city. They leaked this information to the public, sparking outrage and protests against the invasive monitoring and manipulation.